believe in Canada? This Liberal Prime Minister won't even pay taxes in Canada.
We now know who invested in Carney's campaign. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today it's been revealed that billionaires, bankers, and rich investors all supported Carney's campaign. Not a surprise here. This guy's a global elitist that tricked Canadians. The average everyday liberal thought this banker elitist will come and save Canada. He's going to help us out. Wrong. That's not happening. I've got this story intermixed with the House session today as we got some bombshell news out of the Middle East. Pierre Poilievre continuing to destroy Carney on not serving Canada's best interest. Let's jump into this. So jumping over to the House of Commons here, Pierre Poilievre once again starts out in French. He asks Mark Carney about this $1 trillion of Canadian money going to America. Where's this coming from? Is it pension money? All of this. Carney doesn't answer in English and then just brings up some big news that we have here today.
Today is a momentous day, and I'm sure all parliamentarians would join me in recognizing the historic progress that has been made in the Middle East under President Trump's 20-point peace plan.
So what he's talking about here is this. We've got Israeli ministers to discuss Gaza plan that would bring ceasefire and hostage release. Trump says Israel and Chips and Hummus crew agree to first phase of Gaza peace plan. So essentially he's got this peace deal. It's a matter of getting the hostages out now. So this is a huge deal, but we've got bigger problems for ourselves in Canada. So Pierre Poilievre's not going to let this slip. Basically Carney dodging the question.
On behalf of members, I would like to commend the leaders of Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, the architects of the plan, Mr. Kushner and Witkoff, and underscore, as I did to the President and to Mr. Kushner, Canada's full support in ensuring that all parties implement all phases of this plan.
The average Canadian has no idea that Mark Carney knows exactly who Jared Kushner is. This Jared Kushner, the one that he spent an evening with. This whole situation here, I'm not going to get into it in the channel, but I mean, Jared Kushner and Donald Trump and his kids, I mean, there's a lot of investment here in the Middle East. With Qatar specifically, Jared Kushner was in Trump's administration last time, and I believe during that time he was a senior advisor. Either way, it's a little suspicious that Kushner would be going to do this, considering all these ties here. And Mark Carney himself tied here as well. Brookfield, the Kushner bailout property, Qatar money. You notice when Carney says Kushner's name though, he says it with confidence because he knows the guy.
We all congratulate President Trump for his peace deal in the Middle East, of course, but I asked a question in French with respect to Canadian jobs, Mr. Speaker, and the Prime Minister needs to offer some respect to Quebec and Francophones that are losing their jobs. The current situation is that Canada has the best trade deal with the U.S. worldwide.
Okay, so we'll jump over to English because they usually double these up.
Speaker, the Prime Minister came home empty-handed with more tariffs on softwood and automobiles, but he made a massive promise of $1 trillion of investment that would leave Canada to go to the United States. He said that this would be part of the agreement that he expects to get. So right in the agreement, he's going to commit to moving $1 trillion out of Canada. Yesterday, he confirmed it would be private money. So how is he planning to do that? Is he going to pass a law forcing our pension funds to move their money south? Or is he just going to continue with high tax and anti-development policies that cause investment to flee?
Here. You're right on. Mr. Speaker, I was there. And I was there in the conversation with the President. I was there in the conversations in the Oval Office. I was there in the conversations afterwards.
His ego is so bruised. If you saw the previous video where he was essentially heckling the press, he was demeaning them, or I don't know what it was. He brought up the fact that they don't look excited to see him, but they got so excited to see Trump. His ego is so bruised right now. He has to come out and say, I was there, I was in the room, I was in the meeting, I was this, that, and the other. He feels so insignificant against Trump.
And the situation is this. We have the best deal in the world. We're in the process of making it better for the workers in the steel sector, for the workers in the aluminum sector, for our energy workers, for our auto workers, for our workers in forest products, for our workers across this great land, because we believe in Canada. We will not rest till we have the best deal. Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, what we have is the fastest shrinking economy in the G7 with the second highest unemployment. And he was there. So he has a duty to tell the Canadians who are the owners of this $1 trillion that he wants to push out of our country what is in this deal. Because he said it would actually be in the agreement that he's going to move $1 trillion of private money south. So there's two ways to do that. Is he going to pass a law forcing investors to sell Canadian investments, putting people out of work here? and invest in the South?
Right.
Or is he going to continue to kill jobs with high taxes and anti-development policies that send money away?
Something real fishy going on here. We got to think, Mark Carney, this is the guy, the architect of multiple of these funds. This is what he knows. This is his world. Like this catalytic transition fund, Middle Eastern money here, you got 2.4 billion from the UAE, among a bunch of other companies invested. He knows this world. And he's got this fund here. I mean, Carney went to Brookfield, and over a couple of years, this is what he did. He set up these funds. He directly profits from this fund doing well. There's actually two funds, Brookfield Transition Fund 1 and 2. You look at the dates, February 2021 and February 2024. And this one here was announced in December 2023, and then it was completed September 2024. So this is what he spent his time at Brookfield doing. So what is he trying to do with Canadian tax dollars? Is he trying to move pension funds? What kind of dirty tricks is this guy up to? While we're talking about Carney's ego, we've got this story coming out here, which just ties it all together. Why Carney is taking all this humiliation of not getting a deal so badly here. So coming from the Hills Times, says Prime Minister Carney's 5 million Liberal leadership war chest, fueled by billionaires, bankers, and Canada's wealthiest neighborhoods. So anyone who donated to his campaign, which raised $5 million, is essentially an elitist. We've got $5 million in campaign donations from 25,337 individual contributions, plus an additional 46,331 from campaign funding events. Carney received the majority of his fundraising donations, just under 4.27 million from 22,000 people from direct contributions. Also goes to mention here nearly 800,000 in regular campaign donations, which max out at $1,750. One contribution, $1,749 from Peter Chiarelli, Vice President of Operations of the St. Louis Blues and previous General Manager of the Edmonton Oilers. Chiarelli was also Carney's captain on the Harvard hockey team. They all link back together at some point, don't they? Carney also received maximum donation from J.P. Barry, who according to Forbes is one of the world's top hockey agents, having negotiated more than $1 billion in contracts throughout his career. Goes on to say Carney received $2.9 million worth from supporters from Ontario, nearly 800,000 from BC, 440,000 from Quebec, and 33,000 from international locations, including maximum donations from private equity investors and former bankers in New York, Paris, and London. Carney also received 2 maximum donations from Geneva, courtesy of Canadian billionaire businessman and philanthropist John McCall McBain, who founded the John McCall McBain Scholarship at McGill University, and also one from his wife. John McCall McBain gives back to McGill University. Are we surprised we've got billionaires donating to these universities and the ones who donate to Mark Carney? These guys are all leftist liberals. It goes on to mention the different cities here, 500,000 from Toronto, nearly 400,000 from Ottawa. It goes through the neighborhoods, Rockcliffe, which is where Mark Carney has one of his houses. So then it goes on to talk about this maximum personal donations, 25,000. Says Carney's former neighbors, including Sarah Baxter, chair of the Rockcliffe Park Foundation, and Elder Marks, a former advisor in Justin Trudeau's PMO. No surprise there. It goes on to mention Rosedale, which is Chrystia Freeland's riding, Yorkville, all these rich neighborhoods. It says maximum donations from several investors, bankers, 2 CEOs, as well as Rob Pritchard from the former director of Torstar Corporation and former chairman of the Bank of Montreal. He's connected to all these bankers, climate philanthropists Brian and Joanna Lawson, Greg Sorbara, the former Ontario finance minister. Maximum donations from Andy Chisholm, who sits on RBC's board of directors, Donald Guillen, the former CEO of Manulife. It's all bankers with this guy, bankers and billionaires. Roger Garland, Four Seasons Hotels former chief financial officer. John and Kenneth Irving, as in Irving Oil in the East. Big money, as it says here, whose family is estimated to be the 4th wealthiest in Canada, net worth at $14.47 billion. Scott McCain of McCain Foods, 5th richest in the country, $13 billion, as well as donations from Olivier and Paul Desmarais, which is directly connected to Trudeau Liberals. There was that whole thing with Karen Hogan, and this stuff is all tied together. Estimated net worth $10 billion. We're not going to go through this web here today, but we've got the web of Paul Desmarais. As you see, this goes back to the Pierre Trudeau days. This money has been running deep for a long time. Charles and Stephen Bronfman, estimated net worth $3.6 billion. Now, where do we recognize this name? We're going to be adding a bunch of these names on the chart because basically those donations are exposing Mark Carney's connections, his financial connections. So we've got Stephen Bronfman on here. I did a video a while back looking at the creation of Brookfield, which was the Pagurian Corporation. They created Brookfield eventually. It's a whole complicated story, but you had Peter Bronfman, the Bronfman family, and who's connected to that? Well, Stephen Bronfman, which was Justin Trudeau's advisor. Revealed Justin Trudeau's closest advisor helped move huge sums of money offshore. Of course he did. Of course he did. Stephen Bronfman, who played key role in Canadian PM's rise, was involved in complex offshore web leaked papers show. This guy donated to Mark Carney. Are we surprised here? Goes on to mention Bruce Flatt, Brookfield Asset Management, and who do we got here? Old Jack Cockwell. Well, he's on the screen right here. There's Jack Cockwell, board of directors at Rogers, director at Brookfield since 1979. I'm not surprised old Jack Cockwell donated to Mark Carney as well. Got Marcia Moffat, the Canadian head of BlackRock. Not surprised with that either, considering Mark Carney is invested in BlackRock. Garrick Tiplady, senior Meta executive. And it goes on to say here they spent $267,000 on ads on Facebook. This is unreal. I keep telling people, this is a global elitist banker who's in it for himself. He really is. He really is. I have an entire section here dedicated to this now. And yet people are like, oh, my PM, Mark Carney, he's doing such a great job. He's in it for us. He didn't quit his job at Brookfield to help Canadians. He did it to help himself and all of these billionaires who supported him. Canadians need to pull their head out of the sand, and they need to do it right now.
Mr. Speaker, I know the honourable member was not here when this government cut income taxes, cut capital gains taxes, cut the carbon tax. I know the honourable member was not here when this government passed legislation for one Canadian economy and to build major projects across this great land. But the member opposite will be here when this government presents a generational investment budget November 4th, and we hope to have this here.
This is some more dirty tactics here. He's just trying to discredit Pierre for not being in the House for that brief spring session. The problem with this is his delivery is so bad, he keeps slipping up and calling him a minister. It makes him look bad. It's not coming off smooth. He's trying to get these zingers. It's not landing.
We must be onto something here because he has $500 billion. Canada has invested $500 billion in the U.S. over the last 5 years alone. Probably $1 trillion in the next 5 years if we get the agreement we expect to get. So this is what he said. This is after he has failed to get tariffs lifted on our auto workers, our lumber workers, after thousands have lost their jobs, after he created the second highest unemployment and the worst growth in the entire G7. So here's a very direct question. He's committing $1 trillion Canadian investment dollars to head south of the U.S. Has he secured an agreement that President Trump will send the same?
Mr. Speaker, Canada has no tariffs on auto parts. Canada has the lowest tariffs on finished goods in the world. We are working towards an agreement that will increase investment in Canada, that will increase investment in the United States, but we will only accept the best agreement for Canada, and the private sector, remember that, will make those decisions.
He says he's going to put it right in the agreement, so presumably he's going to enforce it somehow. Another Liberal contradiction, another failure and broken promise by this Prime Minister. Let's go to energy. Just days ago, the Prime Minister voted in favor of an energy cap that would make it impossible to fill another pipeline. Then he woke up and discovered that President Trump has, for the last 8 years, supported the Keystone XL pipeline. Now, we know that as long as he blocks production in Alberta, we won't be able to fill that pipeline with oil. So what is he going to fill it with? Maple syrup?
Mr. Speaker, I voted, as did others, a majority in the House, voted against a motion to get rid of something that does not actually exist.
That's right.
Okay, the first thing, does not actually exist. Secondly, we are working with the private sector. We are working with the province of Alberta. We are working with the Americans to unlock great Canadian energy to build this economy strong.
What does that mean? Is he going to lift the emissions cap and approve Keystone XL? That whole project was a disaster. I mean, TC Energy was already building it. It was already approved. It was in construction. Joe Biden gets in, boom, day one, cancels it. That should be illegal. Like, you shouldn't be able to interfere in a project already in construction unless they pay back the company everything they spent. If you look at the numbers, TC Energy spent about $1.5 billion. There was $15 billion in losses total. They tried to sue the government. They lost that, and they had to pay tribunal fees of $1.4 million after Joe Biden canceled that project. And on top of that, Alberta, under Jason Kenney, invested $1 billion US, 1.3 billion Canadian in that project as well, which was lost, all because of that disaster Joe Biden. This is what happens when you elect liberals. They ruin the lives of the citizens. It should be illegal for them to cancel that project with so much money involved and two nations involved mid-construction, but Joe Biden did it.
On this side of the aisle and all Canadians, we believe in
this country, Mr. Speaker. Canada is the place where we attract talent. Canada is the place where we build ships, we build cars, we build planes. Canada is the place.
I'm sorry, with ships? You guys are sending $1 billion contract to China on ships. But why would he use that example?
That's where we have critical minerals. Canada is the place where we have energy.
Yeah, and we don't dig them out of the ground. This is such an awful rant.
Canada is the only country in the G7 with a free trade with all other G7 nations, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build Canada strong. We are the true north, strong and free, Mr. Speaker.
Believe in Canada? This Liberal Prime Minister won't even pay taxes in Canada, Mr. Speaker. Once those investment dollars go to the U.S., they don't come back. Just look at TC Energy. That used to be called TransCanada Energy until they had to drop the word Canada because they can't get anything built in this country. They just put $8.5 billion to work in the U.S. The Prime Minister said during the election, anyone who worships at the altar of Donald Trump will kneel before him, not stand up to him. Yesterday, he knelt there like a pylon while the president skated all around him. Did he get an end to U.S. tariffs in return?
Speaker, I have even more good news for the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. On November 4th, we will presenting a budget with generational investment, Mr. Speaker.
We all know what that means. Generational debt. It's more debt for Canada. But don't worry, they'll be enriching themselves. Top priority for the Liberal Party of Canada.